So, it's been 11 years since I made a video on sexual abuse and like mainly the effects that it has on everybody, not just me. Um, I don't really have a format for this video as I kind of wanted to just flow naturally. But I will say this, when it first surfaced, like I had 20 books, man. I was reading all the books. I tried to do it very fast. I tried to learn very fast, which I realized I should probably have done it a little bit slower. But hey, man, I make mistakes that help other people sometimes. So I will say this though, because of all that just surfacing, like my natural inclination was to really go towards drugs. And the drug of choice was like e-cigarettes and opiates. And I just made a video on how those are gone. Um, so if you want to check that out for a more in-depth concept and viewpoint of how that really took place, because it was pretty crazy. But like I was thinking about making this video for a long time and I just didn't really know what to say. But I know that for a lot of people, and I mean, there's been a ton of you guys that have posted on there. I think it's like almost 100,000 views. And I'm grateful for anybody who said anything, anybody who prayed for me, and anybody who just got something. Because ultimately that was the goal, to bring help to someone, to bring awareness that that it's not okay that it happened, but it's okay, and you can get through it somehow. And I'm just going to talk about certain things that it really they affect everybody, but did it has it changed? Has it changed in 11 years? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it really real? Is there really a healing and a recovery process? And I would have to say yes. I will say this: time helps, but I mean, I genuinely attribute all of my success in the healing process to Jesus. That's me. But like, guilt and shame is a huge thing, and like just a bad level of like a low perception of yourself that comes with, like I said, if you're watching this, then the concept of what comes with means sexual abuse. Um, but sometimes any type of abuse. It could be abuse physically, emotionally in a relationship. It could be anything. Abuse is abuse, period. But I don't have any shame anymore about it. Like I said, I mean, if I can talk about it on YouTube, you know what I mean? It's like pretty obvious that I'm not. And like guilt, like, man, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything to deserve it. So for me to hold guilt, like I can, like I said, now I'm telling you this 11 years. You know what I'm saying? Later, but I can understand having it. But I'm saying from this perspective right now, I'm like, man, I didn't do anything. I didn't beg somebody to do it to me. You know what I mean? And even if hypothetically I was and I was a child, that you're still a child. You know what I'm saying? So now I look at it and I'm like, no, I don't have any guilt over that. Now, a low perception of myself, I can still see myself dealing with that. You know. And does that affect your faith? Yes, if you're a Christian and you're watching this, because it can affect your belief system. But I will say yes, I still deal with that. But I don't hope to make another video in 11 years telling you, oh, well, this is what I did, because, it's just like I'm on like a different level, and it took time, it took patience, it took dedication. Like, I remember I had a doctor that really helped, man. It was a psychologist that he really knew what he was doing. So I always have encouraged people to reach out in that way as well, because it's like, even though I'm a Christian, I'm letting you know, like, you want to have somebody that's a professional as well, because you never know what their previous experiences dealing with it will lead you to that can help you. Um, so don't skip that area, and don't make Chat GPT your therapist either. Like I don't know if that's taking place now, but I'm sure in the future it's probably going to be some kind of weird thing that's going on. But just to kind of put a light at the end of the tunnel, I remember, like I said, I made the video just to help people. Like I didn't have any other motive other than the fact that, okay, I went through this, but because I'm a Christian, I believe that all things work together for good. So I'm thinking, like, okay, somebody's out here and they're dealing with this and they need to hear a story, not just from a guy, but I'm sure that could be a good, a beneficial help. But I will say this, I did meet my wife because of that video, which is crazy in itself. I have a video on that as well. But essentially, it was like this: she was looking for information for a friend. This friend was struggling with something, and it could have been that. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm just talking to her. I didn't have any inclination really of what was gonna be. I wouldn't say that, but in the process of talking, we I'm relatively shy, believe it or not, and she lived in New Jersey, and so one day I'm like, like certain things, I know some of y'all might not believe in God, and I get it, you know what I'm saying, because of whatever reason, but it was like I just flew there, and that's abnormal for me in the sense of being so shy. But I won't really get into all that. But we flew back and forth. I went to New Jersey. She came to Charleston. I went to New Jersey. She came to Charleston. We went to various other places, and then ultimately, she flew to me. She moved here, or to Charleston, and we got married. And I have a son now, and that's a great to think that it came from a sexual abuse video of like my deepest hurt, you know, it's pretty crazy to think about that like that. Now, anxiety. Do I have anxiety still? Absolutely. I don't know if that's gonna go away, and I'm okay with it if it doesn't. I know I have panic disorder where I have panic attacks, but I'm okay if it doesn't go away because it's like some things can make you stronger. You know, it's like sometimes people say you have to feel your fear and go anyway, right? So it's like I guess it depends on your outlook and your perspective in that area. Now, is everybody gonna have anxiety over it? No, and they might be able to skip that, and hopefully you do, because I understand how crippling it can be at times, and it's important that really this is the truth, in my opinion. It's important that there's still something there to remind me because I need to be reminded of everybody else who goes through this and to know, like, even though, yeah, you've made strides in this area, if you still deal with it in this area, like, I'm still like this with somebody, you know what I'm saying, as opposed to I'm all the way over here and everything is better now, but it's like I'm still connected to anybody who's been there, you know what I'm saying, like I don't ever want to get to that point where, and I would take something, be it bad or good, you know what I'm saying, I would take something just so I stay connected in that way to anybody that's dealt with it, so I can somehow maybe help them. That's how I feel about it, and that's how I look at things in life, and maybe that's what kind of pushed me through. Now I will say body memories, when I brought that up, like how you can like feel like it's happening, and I know a lot of people wrote comments like, I shouldn't have watched this at this particular time, and I get what you're saying, but I don't have that. I don't have like the feeling that it's actually happening again, which is crazy that it can even happen. But that's the nature of trauma. And I think that all of us who endured that, it's almost like we're all related, to a degree. We all have a common shared bond. And the ultimate goal for all of us should be to get better. Maybe everything won't be perfect, but to get better. And better is exactly that, better. Now, it's not always easy to be better or to get better, but it comes with the territory. Another thing that I was thinking of, and I kind of have like a list, but it's not really. I really would like anybody to, if they have questions, to like have a list of them. And I mean, I could redo the video or just make another one. But the books were good. I needed the doctor though. And I look back. There's not too many people that you can really come across in life, and you can look and be like, okay, that person made an impact on me, and it can be somebody that you don't even know. Like I can think of 4 people right now, and I'm like, I've never met them, and I cried when they died because of the impact they had on me specifically, mainly biblically teaching me. So obviously, with sexual abuse comes sexual problems. Now, those problems can range from, I mean, it can range. It can range. That's all I'm gonna say. All I can really say is it can range from whatever, bro. You know what I'm saying? But I will say that mine was like, and I'm gonna just say this real quick and then end it right there. It's like take forever, Adam. But I will say that in the process of all of this, my wife knows what happened to me, right? So it's important if you're close to anybody, like just a friend, you know what I'm saying? Somebody who's like been there thick and thin with you, seeing the ups and the downs, whatever those ups and downs are. It's important, and I'm sure for most of you have, is just to explain it to them. That way they can be more understanding if something happens that can affect them. Like let's say you're depressed for, like all of a sudden you just, man, I don't want to talk to anybody. If that person knows that, they can check on you, or they can be like, oh, okay, they're going through something. There's all, keeping that open communication with somebody that's of value to you is important. And I appreciate, like I said, I appreciate all the comments. I try to reply to all of them. There were some that were kind of like very weird. Like I feel like some of those individuals should be on like the FBI watch list, man. Maybe not this FBI, but some FBI somewhere. You know what I'm saying? But, um, like I'm just here as like now 11 years later is like a symbol of hope, man. Like that things get better. And it didn't take per se 11 years, but I just, I didn't know how to approach the topic. I mean, I know it seems simple, like just talk about, did things get better? But it's like, I don't know. But I will say that through it all, I'm appreciative that I endured what I endured. Because, like I can look, if I'm ever down, man, I can look and be like, man, you went through that. You know what I'm saying? And this comes up, like this is nothing compared to that. So you have to have the perspective that not only is it going to get better, but I'm going to be better because of it. And in the process of you being better, you're going to be able to help people too. Because I remember a lot of people said in the comments, like, thank you for the video. Maybe I should do one on my own problem or abuse story. And that's cool too. Like if you feel comfortable doing that, don't ever do anything because you feel like, oh, well, other people want me to, or other people don't want me to, blah 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? Because ultimately, it's about your well-being and just you. Like I said, being better, getting better. And I can, like I said, 11 years later, a lot of stuff's changed, and I can't, like, I'm not upset with the individuals anymore either. Although I did go through that where I was like, how did y'all do that to me? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how to answer that, because I'm not going to answer for them. But, I can honestly say, like, I don't harbor any feelings. Like, if I saw him today, I would be shocked in a sense of like just shocked that I saw him. It wouldn't be like shocked like you know what I'm saying? Like here we go. It would just be like whatever, like I've written off whatever they've done and I've pushed it to the side because me holding on to something like that, like I gotta let that go. I gotta like if anything, I gotta let that go. You know what it is? Unforgiveness is like a rope that's wrapped around your arm, right? And you're holding on to this particular thing, but it's actually holding on to you because it's wrapped. Like you think you're holding on to it, but it's wrapping around your arm, and you're trying to get free. And like freedom is over here, like getting help is over there, and you're attached to this thing, and it's up somewhere, and it's holding you, but you think you're holding it, but really it's holding you, and you need to get over there, but you are stuck right here because this is all wrapped up and you're unable to move. So when you forgive, you loose yourself from that particular thing and you can begin to like, if I compare it to being on the ocean, because the ocean is like life. Oh, you got ups, down, boom. There that's what it is. Like so like let's say this is a ship or something and it's pulling you. You're stuck on it. You're like I'm not forgiving this person, I hate what they did. And you can hate what they did, but you can't be unforgiving. And I know that. I know it's easier said than done. Don't, like, come on, man. I know that it's easier said than done. But that particular thing is holding on to you, man. And you have to let go to get to that other side, to get to the shore of being better. So, and you got to swim through the problems and the issues. But I'm telling you, you can work through a lot of things, but at the end of the day, it's the truth, and it is not, like I said, it's not easy, but you gotta forgive these people. You know what I mean? Whoever they are, I don't care if they're dead. If they're dead, pull up a chair, right? Pull up a chair right next to you, and talk to them as if they're there. I mean, obviously they're not, but talk to that chair and imagine that they're there. You can express how you feel, how upset you are. You can cry, you can cuss, you can do this, this, and this. But express how you feel and just be like, you know what? I'm in the process of forgiving you for doing that. Because, you're not going to be able to go and confront everybody. Some people are going to die. Some people are dead that did it to you. You know what I mean? So, or in jail or wherever. It doesn't even matter where they're at. What matters is you and forgiving them. So for you. And then another thing is this. Guilt often creeps in as unforgiveness towards yourself, right? Like, oh, I'll never forgive myself for being in this situation, or I shouldn't have worn this. Or if I didn't go to this party and I didn't have this friend, I wouldn't have taken those drugs and this would have never happened to me. I wouldn't have had to go to the hospital and get a rape kit. I wouldn't have had to do this, this, and this. So I'm upset with me. I'm the problem. And so that is where you have to realize wrong. That's not true. You're not the problem. Like what happened to you is the problem. And what happened to you is not something that you did. It's their thing that they did. But I understand again how it feels to be like, it's my fault because, and I'm think about this, like this happened like I was 4 or 8 or in between. So if I'm being unforgiving towards myself as a child for this happening, I know that if you were 18, 19, 20, 16, 15, 190, that I know that it can happen then, because you're more aware of just life in general. But like I said, it's not your fault, and don't beat yourself up. You know, that event already did that for you. It's up to you to pursue the healing way. And like I said, man, I always try to reply to everybody, so if you got any questions, I'm down to listen. It's no big deal to me. I appreciate it. I don't mind doing it at all because I understand that value. And I also understand this too. And this is where probably a lot of people are. I understand when nobody understands. And when you expect the people to be proud of the progress and they're not, I understand when you expect just a little sympathy, and it's pushed off, like blown off, like whatever. It happens to people. I understand that hurt too. So I know how that feels, and I'm appreciative that I do because, like I said, it links me. It doesn't. I don't float off into the clouds of I can't relate anymore. And I, like I said, I'm appreciative that I went through all this so I can maybe, if it's God's will, and maybe I'm capable of anything, helping in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't have to be a lot, but just anything. But like I said, 11 years later, a lot can change. And there's a lot of things that you gotta go at, but you can go slow. You know, it's not a sprint; it's a marathon. And don't beat yourself up if you're not where you think you're supposed to be by now, quote unquote, because you can be right where you're supposed to be, and it doesn't always feel that way, but you can be in the right place. So, like I said, if you felt it, I probably have too. And I don't know. I mean, even if you're not a believer, I pray for people who see him, see the video, and who will see this one, that that you'll do well. And let me just throw this out there. Don't, because I remember this. Let me throw this in there too. I remember like cutting myself at times. And like that is just a way to release an inward pain that is not really released. You know, it's just it's like a band-aid over a bullet wound. It doesn't do anything. It's almost like, what's the point? So, and the reason I say that is because there's more to your life than just that event. Even though I know that when that thing happens or when that thing surfaces in your life, you can feel like there is nothing else but this event. But I promise you, you know, whatever you got to do, but work on doing things that are not gonna be destructive, and if you find yourself doing destructive things, like I said, there's nothing wrong with going to a rehab, there's nothing wrong with going to a doctor, there's nothing wrong with checking into a mental hospital if you feel like right now I'm in a place where I shouldn't be and I don't want to do something that I may not live to regret. It's like I've been there too. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll have one day that'll all come out too. I got plenty of stories, man. Like more than expected from people who probably don't know me. But just know, like, man, it gets better. It gets better. Like, it doesn't seem like it always, but it gets better. And learn to, journal, man, journal, write it out. And like I said, if you felt it, I probably have. And I just wanted to give like a little small update and just let you know that, like I said, I know, and I also know on the other side of it that there is levels of recovery and healing that you can take steps to do. So, I mean, this is just some of the things that I would say to anybody that was in front of me. So, if you want to talk, I'm available to talk no matter what. And I hope that everything is getting better with you. If you're looking at this video because of the last video, and if you're looking at this video because something happened to you, maybe you should look at the previous one from 11 years ago. But like I said, take my advice, go slow, and take care of you because you're important. So have a good one. I appreciate y'all.